Hey, Sagittarius rising and Sagittarius suns. Thanks for joining me for your July horoscope. Let's talk about what's up because we got solar eclipses, we got Mercury retrogrades, we got horns blaring in the distance. Yes, it's all very fitting. So, you have been having a very relationshipy spring and summer so far, it appears. Um, and you may not be quite out of that relationship mode just yet, as you are diving into your eighth house, which is all about the shared resources you have within a partnership, as well as kind of your own private dark place, your psyche, kind of where you need to go to therapy. I think in this house of the chart. It's where your phobias and compulsions and your intimacy and your sexuality all lie, and how you approach shared partnership. So you're kind of deep diving into that field. It can be kind of dark. You can be kind of uncomfortable a little bit too because the eclipses are happening here. We have a new moon solar eclipse happening on July 2nd, so tomorrow, occurring in your eighth house. So eclipses in general are highly charged. They have a lot of energy, right? They tend to bring in big life events, endings, beginnings, bringing people in, bringing people out, all kind of things of that nature. So having this kind of high energy going on in your eighth house, it's like you're really relationship aware. You're really aware of the ins and outs of how you spend together. And you're also really aware of yourself psychologically if you are not in a relationship. You may be really tuned into what you want in a partnership, in a future partnership, and how to honor that down the road. You may also really be tuned into your psychological realms right now, like I was kind of just saying. You may be like very aware of the kind of psychological ripples going on underneath the surface for you at the moment. So you can expect some kind of action going on there. Also, the eighth house has to do with taxes, debts, things of this nature. So you may find some activity happens around that, or you may just be very aware of your own mortality right now. A lot of random ass things, I know, but that's what it's about. So, on July 16th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn happening in your second house, and that's going to pull you out of your inner workings with the other and into yourself, and give you kind of a hard look at what you have as your own resources, kind of like your own strengths and abilities and talents. That's what you're going to be looking at, your own self-value. And that full moon comes on July 16th and will kind of shine this beacon of light into what you possess naturally and financially, and how you're kind of feeling about your self-worth and how you're feeling about your own value system, really. So this will help a little bit, even though it may be kind of jarring because it's a full moon in Capricorn and it's in this house of what you value about yourself, right? And Capricorn can tend to be a little hard on itself. So you may be feeling like extra, I'm not up to par, this or that, or like kind of down in the dumps about it. But just know that you are good enough, and you don't have to feel like insecure or like you have to keep battling to prove yourself. Capricorn has a tendency to do that sometimes because we're so ambitious, and if we're not meeting up to like what we need to be, we get down on ourselves very fast. So know that that's kind of likely around July 16th, that you could be kind of really aware of either a money situation or your own kind of resources in your life. And it'll also really help to kind of illuminate you to your own talents and abilities. Like, what do you naturally possess that other people don't? Like, whatever your skill set is, you're going to be reminded of that. And maybe you can take that into your relationship workings right now, because you're kind of really in it in relationships, and you're like looking at the ins and outs of how that really works and how vulnerability works and intimacy and all these kind of things, and honest exchange. That's another big one. So having a look at that right now. Now, at the end of the month, we have a new moon in Leo happening in July 31st, in your ninth house, where there's going to be a new story about, once you kind of get out of the muck and mire of this eighth house story, you're going to be starting to reorganize your perceptions on life and your belief systems. You're going to have some new thoughts about who you think you are and what you know and what you believe, because right now you're kind of having to go through it again and be like, what is it that I possess? Who am I? And who do I invite into my world through my relationships? And what can we create together? What can we accomplish with one another? So kind of a weird month in that regard. It's also very financial. I don't know if I've mentioned that enough. Second house being about your own spending and savings. You may have like a money situation rather than an emotional, these fucking mosquitoes, man, rather than like an emotional response, although it's likely to be because it's a lunar eclipse, like who are we kidding? But really in the second house, it could be a financial thing where you're like, am I spending too much? Am I saving too much? Am I budgeting enough? You may just be really aware of your bank account right now. So that's kind of what's going on in this regard. It's money, it's sex, it's death, it's psychological happenings and occurrences, really just trying to pay attention to the undercurrents. And, you know, it could be a month right now where you decide to join therapy. I see a lot of people when they go in their 8th house, like, I want therapy, I need someone to help me work out my complexes, because that tends to happen. And because you're like, what am I worth? What do I value in myself? And therapy can help figure that out. So that's an opportunity. Like I said, I don't know if I expounded on this enough, but the new moon in Leo at the end of the month on July 31st is really going to be having you reorient what you know about yourself, reorient your belief system, and get you also building up a new story around travel, publishing, teaching, education. There's some kind of educational story waiting in the wings for you, where you may be learning something new or going somewhere new coming up. So we'll just have to see about that. The only other thing happening this month is Mercury is going retrograde. Mercury is in your 9th house right now, playing with these ideas of where are we traveling to, where are we going? And you're going to think you're free, and then Mercury's going to go retrograde July 7th and pull back into Cancer, and then you're going to go swimming right back into kind of where your thoughts were before, where it's like, ugh, you know, these painful feelings of transformation, of separation, of vulnerability, of intimacy, of the hard work that goes into really maintaining an authentic relationship. That's all going to come right back to the surface. So you have to kind of deal with that stuff, because Mercury in a retrograde in a water sign is really emotionally charged and has a hard time explaining and expressing itself. But you got to do your best that you know, share with others like what you're kind of experiencing, especially in the 8th house realm. If you're in a relationship, it's like you've got to talk about it. You've got to talk about your fears and what you like and what you don't like, and what scares you or what's happened to you. It's worth exploring at this juncture. So as weird as that was, I hope you can understand that and explore these themes going forward. And I wish you luck. This can be a little bit of a tough one. It really can. Really looking at your values and your money and how you work in a relationship with someone else in a very intimate way. It can be a challenge. So I wish you the best of luck, and know that happier times are coming down the road, and you'll be all good. It's all worth kind of sorting out anyway, because you're meant to be here. All right, be well, and we'll talk in August.